It's always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin coming to you from Berea. Very exciting stuff. We are always brought to you by our good friends at Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, back home after a week in Greenbrier. By the way, great job on your daily vignettes. I really enjoyed watching those. I know you missed me personally, but I enjoyed watching those, and good job.
It's been a while since we've done one of these together, right?
Now we're actually here. We're not even like two different studios. I cut off all my hair. Life is good.
You didn't pull it out. You cut it off. Huh?
No, okay. I just, without you, life without you, I just couldn't be the same. Yeah. All right. So I kind of want to go back and relive a little bit of last week, but not really, because I want to push forward. So you have 6 dates here at Berea where the team's going to practice. They'll be back out here on Tuesday again. What is that? A 4:25 start
for fans.
For fans. Yeah.
And they're going to practice on Monday. Just fans won't be here.
Yeah, it seems weird. I'm going to be honest with you. Like when I was a kid, we would go to Lakeland, we would go to Kent State, or even later in life, you come out here and you would see training camp. A little bit of a different feel. Obviously, the Browns acquired all kinds of land on the other side of the street, so it just has a different feel to it. They also put in a luxury skybox for VIPs out here at camp.
Which, if we move out of the way, there it is, right there.
I wish I had a telestrator. You can see that.
I was going to say that might have been some of the worst telestrating we've ever done.
It's okay. It was impressive, though. I will tell you that it's impressive when you look at it. But camp definitely has a different feel than it used to. This isn't your father's camp.
Yeah. There's no question. Not as many bleachers set up this time. The big bleachers that they had the last couple of years. This area is going to be one massive construction project here in a couple of months. So they're obviously they're doing the prep work there, but yeah, it was hot too. I mean, it was Sunday afternoon, man. It was an extra crispy Sunday afternoon here in Berea, Ohio for training camp. Let me tell you, this is why they were practicing in the morning in West Virginia, was to avoid this type of stuff. But I think now that we're at this point in camp, though, Andy, Kevin Stefanski doesn't mind that it's hot, and guys getting a little. Work in.
It was just shoulders and helmets today, though. Yeah, it wasn't full pads, so players had that going for them.
Yeah, the shells and that, but it did have a little different feel. Not as much. It didn't feel a lot of energy from the crowd today as we've had in years past, which is a little
way different than when the team would run out and people would be like Super Bowl. Those days, I didn't feel that, but we did have a player talk about that today.
We did, and I don't know. I think he kind of teed it up right there. Za'Darius Smith had some things to say about unfinished business in 2024 with the Browns. He said this before practice Sunday afternoon.
We got unfinished work to do here. Jim Schwartz, second-year D coordinator, man. So I get a chance for myself to basically get comfortable in this defense. And just the team, period, as a whole, man. We can really go to the Super Bowl if we really work hard and put our minds to it this year, because we was that close last year. So I feel like we got some unfinished business. I say so. Like I said, we just got to keep working, man, and just take it one game at a time. That is our first goal, to try to win the division and then, go on to the playoffs and try to get the Super Bowl. But, yeah, that's the number one goal right now, is to win the division. Yes, sir. The doubters, man, we still got a lot to prove. Like I said, we just going to take it one day at a time, and Coach Jim Short's doing a great job with us, moving us around, man, and putting us in a position to win. So with his play calling, man, we're going to try to be one of the best this year.
So, yeah, Za'Darius not only –
I'm not going to lie, I was taken aback when he said it, because I was just so – you're not used to anybody talking about Super Bowl, but you know what? Team made the playoffs last year. They had a good year. If their quarterback lives up to the expectations, I don't think it's unrealistic to use the words. I'm not saying you're going to get there or not, but that has to be the goal for every team in the NFL. And if you can say it into existence, maybe it'll happen.
Yeah, and, not only did he talk about, winning a Super Bowl, but winning the division. And then also for him getting the double-digit sacks, obviously within the defense, as he talked about Sunday morning, it's not about him specifically, but, we're seeing Myles Garrett, who, by the way, we got to see him on the field really the most extensive time we've seen him on the field. He did a lot of the individual work, did some of the bag drills and whatnot. But, Za'Darius talked about how influential Myles Garrett is behind the scenes right now, coaching guys up on the practice field, in film sessions, pointing things out. Myles really wants other guys to eat on this defensive front, not just about him. And look, Miles has a little something to gain from that as well, because if other guys are stepping up and getting some sacks on that defensive front, that means that everything isn't tilted on his side of the field here. So he's really excited and focusing on making sure his teammates are not only getting involved, but he himself stepping up that leadership type of attitude, if you will, where he's really kind of, pointing things out to guys and trying to put them in a position to where they're going to be able to get their sacks, and it's not just going to be the Myles Garrett show week in and week out.
I thought it was interesting that Za'Darius was asked. Za'Darius has all kinds of energy, right? Like when he walks into the room, like, oh, even if you don't know who he is, you're like, this guy has that feel of being
that
an
smile
NFL
is
player.
hard to miss.
Yeah, I mean, he's energetic. He's there's just something about it, and you know what I'm talking about. But he also talked about the fact that Myles Garrett has it 24/7. That same kind of infectious feeling that I thought. There's the little things you notice in practice sometimes, and they have kids that cheer the guys out when they come out, and guys come out, high fives, really cool. They come through the tunnel of pride is what they would call it, down in Columbus.
Yeah. So if you're listening to the Kevin Stefanski pre-practice press conferences on 92 through the Fan, all that noise you're hearing in the background, those are the kids cheering as the players take the field. And I mean, today was the play football day around the NFL. Trying to encourage kids to get involved in the game and play. And girls flag football, the Browns are one of the organizations in the league that are trying to get that sanctioned, not only nationwide, but here in the state of Ohio. But my point is,
the finals were at the Hall of Fame in Canton, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. So,
and before the game, Bedford High School's football team got a new helmet. This was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
And every year they do this twice a year where football programs, local youth as well as high school football programs, get a new set of helmets, and those kids went bananas when they saw the golf cart pull up and they pulled the tarp and there were the shiny new white helmets for them. So that was a great moment before practice. But yeah, I mean, it's
Miles doubled back, just going back on the Miles, all the other guys ran through and the kids had left, and Miles came out late, and Miles went out of his way to come back
to go say hi to
the kids because they were off on the side. The kids, and it was just, you see the kids' faces and they're just electric. They're like, Myles Garrett, so it was just, and they were whispering it to each other. They were like, that was Myles Garrett. It was just, it's one of those moments where you realize how cool training camp can be when you're a kid. Because it brought me back to being at Kent State or Lakeland. I know one year we were at Lakeland that I remember going out and watching those guys practice, and it was larger than life. And I think a lot of kids had that experience today.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun there. I saw some couple of signs. There was a young man sitting in the front, and he was like, the sign said it's my birthday, so I wished him a happy birthday. I mean, hey, you never know whose day you can make just by saying hello. Did you give him
a Daryl Ryder bobblehead? That's the question.
There are no Daryl Ryder bobbleheads yet. I'm on the promotions department right now. We'll see what we can do about maybe get some Daryl Ryder bobbleheads. My concern, though, is if we start giving those out, they're just going to get smashed by people.
No, collector's items. Absolute collector's
they're just going to take hammers to them.
Not good. Other thoughts on first day of camp here?
Yeah,
I thought, just let me give him one thought.
Okay, yeah.
I thought Deshaun threw the ball with great accuracy today.
He did.
He had a lot of zip on the ball. I thought that, to me, you can't sit here and judge what a quarterback is in a 7-on-7 drill, but you can see the arm strength, and he had it.
Yeah, I mean, right over our shoulder here, Jerry Jeudy made a nice catch on a deep ball from him. Denzel Ward made a great play, jumped in front of Michael Woods to make an interception. Hey, it doesn't always go. There's a defense on the field too here, and that doesn't necessarily mean that Deshaun made a bad throw. Sometimes you just got to give a credit to a guy like Denzel Ward for making a play. So those were two plays that really stood out to me. There was another throw. Jamari Thrash did a nice job adjusting to. It looked like it was going to be a little short. He slammed on the brakes, came back to the ball, and it was able to go for a pretty big completion. So just a couple of highlights there. And again, it is practice. They're working on stuff. They're trying things out. I don't like, I know there are folks that do, and I have a lot of respect for them. They chart the completions and all that kind of stuff. I don't do that all the time. I'll do it like during 2-minute drill because that's really important in that particular drill. Like the other day down at the Greenbrier to wrap things up, Jameis Winston went 5 of 7 in a 45-second, 2-minute drill, and ended up throwing what was a game-winning touchdown to David Bell in the end zone. That was significant to track something like that. But I do agree with your assessment there, Andy, that Watson looked good throwing the ball. You know who else looks good throwing the ball this year? Dorian Thompson-Robinson. There's a little sauce on that thing when it's coming in if you're a receiver. He's looked really, really good. If he's able to, I don't want to say perfect, but if he's able to enhance what he does behind the scenes, you see it. Like, you see what the Browns saw in him when they drafted him. But, yeah, DTR looked pretty good throwing a football today too.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the quarterbacks when we come back. What did Kevin Stefanski have to say about Deshaun Watson playing against Green Bay in the first preseason game of the year? We will talk about that when we come back. It's always game day in Cleveland. It is always game day in Cleveland. This man right here, smiley face, smile. There he is. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin with the hair that won't stop talking.
Hair gel, Andy.
I know. I have gel in there, and it just doesn't.
Clearly, it's not working.
I feel, wouldn't this be great to bust this shot out in December? Or like during a game like New Orleans when you were walking into a freezer.
I don't know
and
how
feel the enjoyment, like the big cloud over here, and
I don't know how I would feel about 95 degrees of blazing blast furnace
I'll take
heat
it
in December.
I'll take it. I got no problem.
We've
with
had,
it.
We don't have those bitter cold winters anymore.
I'm glad you brought up bitter cold heat and freezers and all those things, because we are brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling service.
That is called a segue, folks.
Thank you. Check them out. They're our good friends. All right. So we went to break, and Kevin Stefanski talked about Deshaun Watson and what his schedule is going to be this week. And I walked over to you just to make sure that I heard it right. I'm also I got a rumbling today about something else, and I'll share that with you about Deshaun in the preseason. But what do you think Deshaun's path is for this week, and will we see him in the Green Bay game?
I have no idea if we're going to see him in the Green Bay game, because Stefanski told us that he's still talking that over with his coaching staff. But he's going to throw. Like, he's going to throw. He's supposed to throw Monday, going to throw Tuesday, off day Wednesday. I would anticipate him throwing Thursday as well. I don't think that there's any reason to really hold him back. He threw the first 6 practices down at the Greenbrier, and really he hasn't shown any ill effects from that surgery. And he really has. Like, we don't see him grabbing the shoulder and rolling in it after throws and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, you've seen no sign of discomfort from him whatsoever. So now Stefanski has maintained that everything's fine. Watson's where he's when we talked to Watson down in West Virginia, he indicated the same thing, right? There's nothing. He's ready to go, right? He's just following and doing what he's being told to do as far as his particular reps. But what's interesting, not interesting, but Jerry Jeudy, we got to visit him with him before practice on Sunday. And amongst the things that, came up, there was a reporter here from Denver wanting to follow up on that whole trade and whatnot. So I had not only asked Jeudy about what he's hoping to bring now that they've been on the field, what he's hoping to bring to this offense, but also came up Deshaun Watson and what Watson is doing, can do, all that. So here's Jerry Jeudy before Sunday's practice.
Just making plays, you feel me, consistently. I feel like that's the biggest thing. Coming to Cleveland, that's the biggest thing I want to show, is just being able to show, like, that I am a playmaker, that I could consistently make plays. For no matter the paycheck, I'm still always hard on myself and I always want to perform at my best. So the paycheck doesn't really matter. It's all about me, and then I want to be great. So I got to perform well to do that. Yeah, as a receiver, you always want to get 1,000 yards every year. That's just that's the goal as a receiver. But my biggest thing is just being better than I was last year and doing whatever I need to do to help this team win and get to the Super Bowl. It's nice how accurate he is. Deshaun threw a nice ball, so seeing him out there, I've been watching Deshaun since he was in college. He always threw a nice ball in there. Now seeing it in person is even more tremendous. So, I'm excited to see what we do this year. It looked good to me, what I've been seeing. So he looked good, so he'll be good. Just starting with the receiver core, having those group of guys around me will open a lot of things up, and having Deshaun Watson, a great quarterback he is, being able to give him the ball on time and in the right spot, and having Ken Dorsey calling the plays. You know, he got he ran a great offense when he was at the Bills. You know, so bringing him here just gonna help me a lot.
So there you go, Andy. Jeudy coming out and saying that Watson throws an extremely accurate football. Now, there is kind of part of me that after hearing him say that, thinking maybe just a little bit of shade being tossed at the quarterbacks that he had to deal with in Denver, Colorado. Because let's be honest about it.
I didn't think about it until I didn't realize there was a reporter from Denver in the scrum. So
yeah.
Okay, now that kind of makes a little bit more sense on that. But I don't know that he intentionally.
No, I'm
right.
making something of. I'm not saying that but I'm making something of it that maybe he's saying, because we've seen it here, right? We've seen the quarterback carousel here. We know what that's like. We know how disjointed that is. We've talked to players sitting having to do it, and they're always diplomatic about it, right? Every guy that would start would be the next great guy. You know, everything's great. Throws are perfect. This offense is and then we go out and watch it, and it's as bad as we thought.
Kaiser was the chosen one, right? Was the franchise quarterback.
Right.
His head coach said
Who's
that. You said that.
No, the trust me one was Cody Kessler.
Oh, that's right.
Trust me about Cody Kessler, the third rounder. But yeah, Jeudy, though, specifically mentioning Watson's accuracy, I'm just keeping it real. That did catch my attention on Sunday.
Defensively, I don't know that there hasn't been. We heard from Za'Darius.
Denzel's having a great camp so far. He really is. Miles hasn't lost a step. Just watching him do some of the Indian, it's just Miles. But you know what I mean. Za'Darius said something to the effect on Sunday that Miles was born in a lab. Because he's just such a freak of nature.
He straight out said it. He was born in a lab.
He's just such a freak of nature and just so incredibly talented and gifted. But, we haven't had a lot of intense, padded practices to this point.
Yeah, there wasn't any bone-crushing hits.
Yeah, and there's not going to be. These are not our father's training camps anymore. This is all about getting guys to week one, get this team as healthy as possible. It doesn't seem like any of the guys that are currently on the list, the non-football injury or the PUP list, it doesn't seem like those guys are getting any closer to practicing anytime soon. One of the things, I want to take people behind the scenes in training camp. So one of the first things we do when we're covering practice every day is we take attendance. Mm-hmm. We go down the route. So the Browns have that new addition behind us. So on the first floor is, I'm calling it now the garage, because the garage doors open.
Yeah.
That's where the Browns' new weight room is. And that is also now where the Browns are hiding the injured players that are on the bikes. The bikes are no longer sitting in front of the bleachers.
You see.
They get out of the way, okay? There's the bleachers. That's where the bikes used to be, right there. And now the bikes are...
Those are the garage doors.
In the garage doors right there in the base.
Right.
So it was funny. I'm walking over to the other side, and they were nice about it. It was cool, but as I'm walking, I'm looking in the garage, trying to remember all the numbers of the guys as I'm walking. She was like, "Keep it moving, keep walking." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know," but the old memory upstairs is trying to process what he's seeing and remembering all the numbers as I'm walking by. Yeah, so that's so when you come out to training camp and you notice there's no more bikes and guys working on the side, the reason is they're in the garage working out now. So
I thought Za'Darius made another point that was super interesting too. Not only about the fact that he didn't play. I didn't realize he didn't play high school football until senior year.
I know.
I don't think anybody realized that.
And it was funny.
He was playing AAU basketball, and
then he's like, "Yeah, I figured out basketball wasn't for me."
And then you become one of the best defensive ends in the NFL.
Right.
No, the part that I thought was interesting is that he said he likes to play the inside better than the outside.
Yeah.
Even though he's set up for the outside. And, you think about him and Miles. I always dream about 00 being out there with those guys too. And who knows what we're going to see if Dalvin Tomlinson's hurt in the beginning of the season. You could easily see that. We saw that a couple times last year.
Yeah.
So.
And look, Jim Schwartz is he loves his baseball analogies, right? We got heaters last year. Well, this year comes the off-speed stuff. Comes the sloppy stuff, the hook. the slider, the curve.
Well, I'm just thinking that, much like the Guardians, that he can play any position, right? So he
right.
can play right field, center field, left field.
And be the Daniel
or
Schneemann of the Browns defensive
or
line.
if you want to think about it in the softball sense, right center, left center, and then you get the other side. So it's pretty easy on that aspect. But I just, when I look at this team, and we spent a lot of time going, well, this team goes as Deshaun Watson goes, which I actually walk out here.
I truly believe though that just watching the defensive unit, Andy, work, watching offense. We got to see, by the way, typically how they do this in training camp, just, for our listeners and our viewers. They like to go one offense versus two defense, one defense versus two offense. Well, today we got to see 1v1. We got to see first team offense versus first team defense for the first time in camp. And that's a little bit of a big deal there too. So, that's just as we get going, and we're going to see more of these wrinkles from Jim Schwartz. And like Za'Darius, I kind of feel like Jim Schwartz has something cooked up, because nobody wants to, we're asking, right? It's year two of Schwartz. He's talking about this, using baseball analogies and using the off-speed stuff this year, incorporating new stuff. So what is that he's incorporating, right? And no one really wants to talk about it.
That's okay.
And that's fine, right? We don't want to give any, competitive advantage away or anything like that where the Browns are concerned. But I tell you what, I can't wait for week one to get here so I can see it.
I wonder what the rest of this. I wonder what this first game is going to look like. I also have a theory about quarterback for the last game, and I'll bring that up when we come back. It's always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl. I'm Andy. Back after this. Sunny skies in Berea as the Browns finish up their first day of 6 practices that are open to the public. Again, the next one is Tuesday, and the fans can be here at 4:25. It's always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin, brought to you locally by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling systems. So Daryl, my theory, and I kind of have my ear bent a little bit on this, and it just kind of makes sense, that we probably will see Deshaun Watson in that third game against Seattle. I would bubble wrap him. I don't know. I hope he gets enough time in that they don't feel the need to have to get him back out there. But it was brought upon me that I wasn't thinking about last year in the preseason. We saw Deshaun in that last preseason game of the year.
And that is going to make me very unhappy, because I actually have to stay up to watch that.
Well, he might be done before bedtime.
No, it's like a 10 o'clock kickoff our time.
Or as Jeff Phelps will tell you, it's a 2 a.m. post game. I can tell you this: the Browns are less than thrilled with the fact that they have to go to this. How did this happen?
They have no idea. They're as beside themselves as we are in regards to that third preseason game being in Seattle. So, okay, Deshaun in preseason game 3, that makes sense. Which means we're going to see starters. Yeah,
that's a long flight if you think you're getting cut too, isn't it?
Oh, well, I mean, if you're going to make that flight, you might as well make it worthwhile, right?
Right.
I mean, if you think about it,
showing up for other teams and doing stuff like that. So my theory there was that if we saw him last year in game 3, we're probably going to see him again this year in game 3. Okay, let's talk about the other big topic that was the buzz, and will be again this week. We are getting closer to a decision on whether there's going to be a dome or not in Northeast Ohio. And it just feels like, after listening to the mayor's proposal last week, that they are headed towards a dome. And I talked to fans today about it. They're all for it. The fans that I talked to today, I didn't have any of that, oh, who's going to pay for it or any of that stuff. The fans that I ran into and I was interviewing for TV, they were like, well, this is great. This is what the city needs, and we're going to have to pay for it one way or another if we want a pro football team. I was actually shocked by that.
I think that once fans see what the dome looks like, if you think they're excited about the thought process now, I think that they'll just be over the moon in favor of it. The mayor conveniently got leaked out before the big announcement tomorrow Monday in downtown Cleveland. What the whole lakefront plan, vision, all that kind of stuff.
I thought it was weird that they released the letter.
I know.
To Jimmy and D, and it felt kind of shady that media had this letter that the city sent out that was addressed to
the Haslams.
Haslams. I thought that was weird. The other thing I thought about it, and we've talked about this, was they decided to let that go, that information, while the Browns had a guy getting life flighted to a hospital. To me, that was just. I'm sure the city didn't try to do it on purpose. But it could not have been any worse.
Yeah, the timing of that could not have been.
By the way, how is Deonta Foreman?
other than he is, you know, not injured severely, like that's where we're at. Like he's not practicing right now. He's not in concussion protocol.
Oh, that's good.
But you know, he's not practicing now. So yeah, just a scary scene there. But yeah, I mean, the timing of it could not have been worse. So here's what I'm going to tell everyone: the dome's coming.
There you have it.
It's coming. It's you know, the Browns are.
That's a dome.
Oh, is that what that is? Oh, I was wondering what the hell you were doing. Yeah, so they're going to build in Brook Park. That's my take on the situation. There's no way the Browns can accept that proposal from the city of Cleveland.
I mean, there's
there's
just
so many.
The 30-year part of it, and the we're going to take money for parking, but you're going to not. You don't have to pay your what, $275,000 a year, $250
but
a month, a year.
But no, a year, and that. But we'd like you to pay for the property tax and the insurance on a building you don't own.
So let me ask, how many other landlords do that?
Yeah, it was a bad proposal from the city of Cleveland. I don't know if it was intentionally bad so that the Browns would say no. It just here's this whole situation right now, Andy. Nobody wants to be the bad guy.
Oh,
like,
exactly.
The mayor doesn't want to be the guy that loses the Browns to Brook Park. The Browns don't want to be the bad guy that, like, you know, leaves the city. But they're going to build the dome. Like, that's where this is all headed. It's at this point, it feels inevitable. And then, too, for the mayor to put a deadline and basically say, listen, we've been negotiating
by the 12th, right?
Yeah, we've been negotiating for 18 months. It's time to, you know what, or get off the pot. Tell us, are you staying? Are you going? You know, and I am interested to see how much more dialogue the Browns are willing to have with the city of Cleveland at this point. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm putting myself in the Browns' shoes right now. I would have already told the city of Cleveland, we're out. I just, and again, this is my opinion, but I would have already told the city of Cleveland, peace out. Thank you for everything. The other thing that gets me, and I'm going to go into the city proposal in a second and really poke some holes in it and why it's a bad proposal. Like, the impression that I get from some of the political leadership is that the Browns are supposed to have some sort of obligation to Cleveland, and they don't. Like, they are the timeline now. Let's say for the sake
let
of,
me just say this: the obligation is to kind of Northeast Ohio, right? It's
right.
not necessarily within the boundaries of the city of Cleveland.
Right. Okay. First of all, the Jets and Giants, not only do they not play in the city of New York, they don't even play in the state of New York. Okay. They play in New Jersey. The San Francisco 49ers play basically an hour outside of San Francisco. You have the Miami Dolphins play closer to Fort Lauderdale than they do Miami.
You may think that the Patriots play in Boston. They play closer to Providence.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, they're out in the middle of nowhere.
Although I know they're New England. I get that.
You know, the Chiefs might be heading to the state of Kansas at some point here. You know, the Dallas Cowboys don't play in Dallas. They play in Arlington. So this
way farther away than downtown Cleveland or Berkeley.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the Browns are at least going to be part or would be part, I should say, close to a part of the core of the city, and that's the airport. And you know, if they build the dome, which again I think they will, this is not where a situation where the Haslams are getting billions of dollars for free from the taxpayers. They are willing to invest. Think about this for a second. The Haslams, for every public dollar that gets invested, and by the way, the public dollar investments coming from taxes generated by the dome and the complex that they want to build. It's just, you know, those future taxes would be bonded to pay for the dome, you know, and get that project rolling. But like the airport has no hotels right now. No, the Haslams have built some hotels. You know, there's not a lot of retail over there. Oh, they're going to put some retail there. Like they would make it, you know, a new core. You're not getting 175 acres anywhere else in Cuyahoga County right now. Okay.
No, I don't know. Where would you have it?
So this notion that the Browns
2 spots maybe?
owe something to the city of Cleveland, what the Browns owe to the city of Cleveland is to fulfill the terms of the lease that was signed in 1999. And come the end of the football season in 2028, I got news for you. The Browns will have fulfilled that lease, and they are free to go wherever they want in Northeast Ohio after that. They have no obligations to that stadium on the lake whatsoever after that. And I just kind of feel like, because the mayor was putting that letter, it's the community lot, it's this, it's that. And if you leave downtown, it's going to be such a crushing blow. First of all, it's 10 days a year, okay? Losing 10 days a year is not a crushing blow. If the Guardians or Cavs left downtown Cleveland, that's a crushing blow. Yeah. Like let's be fair. Will there be some injury to business on football game days in down? Yes, of course. The tailgates won't be there, whatever. But so let's have some perspective on the whole. If the Browns move literally hundreds of yards outside of the city of Cleveland limits into Brook Park, which, by the way, again, for the millionth time, used to be city of Cleveland land.
Right.
Again, another bad deal that the city of Cleveland has made amongst many. Mm-hmm. But let's get into this actual proposal and why it doesn't work. You mentioned the parking.
Yeah, I also had an epiphany while you were saying this. Go ahead.
The syntax expires around 2034. So you're about 25 years short in syntax money. You are assuming a lot when it comes to the admissions tax. Keep in mind, the Browns are not going to be able to attract the volume of events that they could in a dome in the open air stadium. Okay, let's keep that in mind. The other thing too about the parking, here's why parking is so important to the Browns. For two reasons. One, yes, it would be another revenue stream for them, for their football, on game days, right?
Right.
But also it would be a sweetener when attracting those big events. So not only whether it's a college football or a concert or whatever, if the Browns are running their own and say, well, if you come to Cleveland, what if we give you 75% of the parking gate? That on top of your other, right? So that is another reason why parking is so important to the Browns in this project, and having those dollars from the Willard Garage and the community lot just going to cover capital repairs.
1 day out of the year. 10 days out of the year.
Right? And oh, by the way, that $94 million projection is over a 30-year span. Keep that part in mind. And on top of that, it gets worse that you're assuming all these other, like the numbers that the city of Cleveland put out there, they don't add up. Based on the folks that I've talked to, they don't add up yet. So I'm curious just what dialogue is going to happen going forward. But I am convinced as we sit here today, Andy, the Brook Park Dome is coming. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And to the Browns' credit, they really are trying to do this the right way. They're trying to do it the right way politically. They're trying to do it from a regional standpoint the right way. They're trying to do it from a business relationship standpoint amongst the business leaders in Northeast Ohio. They're trying to do it the right way there. And they're also trying to do it the right way with the city of Cleveland. They're not, this isn't a situation where it's like the Browns against the city of Cleveland.
No, it's not. It doesn't.
It really is.
I got to tell you the one thing that made me upset, because we're going to wrap up here. Somebody was on Twitter was like putting Jimmy Haslam's face next to Art Modell's. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever sid. Art packed his bags and went to Baltimore. Art was negotiating in bad faith in 1995. Al Lerner, the late Al Lerner, already had the deal in place for him to go to Baltimore when Art was still negotiating with the city. And then, of course, the day after that, that news broke, that syntax to fix the stadium, and ultimately that's what got used to build the existing stadium. That overwhelmingly, that extension got passed. I think one thing that the county can do, because you were joking about it during one of our breaks, is I think what should get added, they should add the recreational marijuana to the syntax. Those numbers were in the Cleveland.com today too. Just like, there's money there. I don't know.
They should.
It didn't say where the money was going to. I mean, is it for drug rehab? Is it for, like, if the money's earmarked for that already, then
no. But I'm saying you can add a tax to it, just like you're adding for beer and alcohol and
add
cigarettes.
that to the syntax. Absolutely.
That's my point.
Yes.
Because the reality is, when you have these three buildings, they're still going to need work. And the
To
existing,
be honest with you, that it should be added to the syntax today, so you never know the difference
right?
before Tuesday. But that's not going to
That can't happen, and again, it has to be voted on. But the existing building does not have 30 years of life in it. It just doesn't. And the $1.2 billion renovation is not going to add 30 years of life to the building. It might add 15. If they're lucky, it'll add 20. But from what I've been told, that it's going to take even more work in the course of those 20 years to keep that building running and whatnot. So it feels like that the renovation, it just can't be it doesn't do what the Browns really ultimately need it to do, and also what they want to do. They're in a position right now. There's no threat of them leaving Northeast Ohio. It's about getting this done the right way. And if they don't do the dome now, let's say like they just do a temporary lipstick on a pig, patch the stadium. It doesn't cost $1.2 billion.
Right.
They spend a couple $100 million to patch what needs patched with the stadium, right? Well, let's say they kick the can 5 years down the road. Well, that dome that costs $2.4 billion to build now becomes $4 billion.
Oh, I agree.
And then you can't do it.
No.
Now's the time to do it as well, because the costs are just skyrocketing. And if you can kind of, put that in there, and just like every other deal, it's, the Browns, my understanding is the Browns would be willing to cover the overages of the project. They are kicking in $1.2 billion plus 1.4 for the development, the hotels and the restaurants and all that kind of stuff. There's the $200 million that's being spent across the street from us here in Berea. So that's $2.8 billion that the Haslams are willing to commit in private development, whether it's their money or their partner's money, right? $2.8 billion in private development from the Haslams between Berea and Brook Park, against $1.2 billion in public money that really isn't public money from the standpoint of the taxes are coming from the complexes that are being built. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you're still taking money from the syntax. So, someone was trying to say that the mayor's plan has no taxes on the people. That's just not true.
Right.
If you keep the syntax on the books, then you're taxing people. Right. All right, we've got plenty of time to talk about this throughout the week. And so we'll be back throughout the week. We got a ton of It's Always Game Days in Cleveland in store for you as we get set for the first preseason game. And that'll be on Saturday. I can't believe it already. They'll be taking out the Green Bay Packers. So it's always game day in Cleveland.